The Lakers are embarrassing. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that LeBron James, year 21, almost 40 years old, has only missed 4 games and still looks like a top 5 player in the NBA, and Anthony Davis has only missed 2 games and is playing the best basketball we've seen him play since 2020, I would have told you that the Lakers were a top 3 seed in the West and maybe even fighting for the best record in the entire world. But that's far from the case. Despite LeBron James and Anthony Davis being unworldly most of the season and literally barely missing games, the Lakers are below 500 and are in danger of missing the play-in, not the playoffs, the play-in. As a Lakers fan who's watched every single game this season, it's extremely frustrating. Early in December, the Lakers won the first ever in-season tournament in dominant fashion. They looked like they were one of the best teams in the NBA and were ascending up to have a phenomenal year. But then they just fell off a cliff, going 1-5 after the in-season tournament. And you can't place the blame on LeBron James or Anthony Davis. They've both been phenomenal. Davis is averaging 25.3 points, 12 rebounds, and is top 5 for blocks in the league. And LeBron, on the other hand, at 39 years old, is doing his part, averaging 24.7 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 7.6 a game. And to add on to that, he's having one of his best shooting years from 3 in his entire career. And it's not like the guys around AD and LeBron changed a lot either. This was a team that made the Western Conference Finals last season and brought back all their core guys and added in guys like Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, and Gabe Vincent. But instead of this team looking like a team that was ready to make the next step and reach the NBA Finals this year, they look worse. It really doesn't make sense. How did this Laker team get so bad after being so good? Well, per usual, the finger pointing in LA has begun. Some point to D'Angelo Russell's continued struggles to find his shot, or Jarred Vanderbilt and Cam Reddish's inability to be effective on the offensive end. Others point to the fact of the consistent injury to key role players like Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. But most of the blame seems to be pointed at second-year head coach Darvin Ham. In Darvin Ham's first season, he led the Los Angeles Lakers to the Western Conference Finals, a successful year for a rookie head coach. Not only was he able to withstand the Westbrook saga in a team overhaul in February, but he was also able to help the team rally late into the year to make the play-in tournament. And following his success in his rookie year and bringing back most of the same guys from the previous season, many people expected Ham to take this Lakers team to one of the best teams in the conference. But it hasn't happened, and due to their recent struggles, fans are calling for him to be fired. Especially after reports have come out that there's a disconnect in the Laker locker room between Ham and the players. Most of this stems from the consistent rotation changes of Darvin Ham. First, it was benching Austin Reeves to start Cam Reddish to bring in more defense. And then doubling down on that idea and benching D'Angelo Russell to start Jarred Vanderbilt to add in more defense. And for a team that has struggled offensively the entire season, this was a head scratcher. Darvin Ham had the Los Angeles Lakers starting a legit starting lineup of LeBron James, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, Jarred Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis, which is essentially 5 forwards. And needless to say, this lineup was terrible, and they struggled to score the basketball. What is more confusing is that Rob Pelinka and the coaching staff of the Lakers prioritized continuity in the offseason, but Ham seemed to have completely abandoned the starting lineup that got him to the Western Conference Finals last year. The 5 of D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Jarred Vanderbilt, and Anthony Davis has played less than 20 minutes on the court together. He has completely thrown this continuity idea out the window and in replace has taken most of the minutes away from Vanderbilt, Reeves, and D'Lo to give it to guys like Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish. The hashtag Fire Darvin Ham is something you will see trending on Twitter every time the Lakers play. He has completely lost the fan base of the Lakers, and he doesn't seem to care at all.
I'm tired of people living and dying with every single game we play. Be like, it's ludicrous.
But Ham isn't the only head coach in the NBA that is catching a lot of flack. Steve Kerr, despite winning 4 NBA championships and only missing the playoffs 1 time in his 10 years with the Golden State Warriors, has completely lost the fan base there as well, with Warrior fans critiquing his limited use of the younger players on the roster and overall him not being a good coach. But this is just the life of a coach in the NBA. No matter how much success you've had in your past, your job is not safe. But you know what is safe? Pushing that subscribe button before we go on to the rest of this video. The best way I can explain this to you is through an analogy. Let's say you won Employee of the Month for your company, and what are you thinking through your head? Oh, I'm one of the best people at my company. I could have this job for another 5 to 10 years without worry of being fired. I'm doing a great job. That is just not the reality of an NBA head coach. The Coach of the Year award is the biggest individual award that a coach can win. It shows that you were the best coach the entire season in the NBA. But that does not stop you from getting fired. Dwayne Casey was awarded the Coach of the Year in 2018 after leading the Toronto Raptors to the best record in the Eastern Conference, a record of 59-23. But he failed to get past the second round after being swept by LeBron James, leading him to getting fired the same exact year that he won that Coach of the Year award. In 2022, Monty Williams was awarded the Coach of the Year award after leading the Phoenix Suns to a dominant 64-18 record, the best record in the NBA since 2018. And that was not even enough, as he had got fired the same year he won that award. Now, you can't go through the fact that, yeah, both these coaches are black, and we know there's not a long history of black coaches in the NBA, but I'm not going to go down that route right now, because it gets even worse. You can win your Coach of the Years, but there's one thing that everybody wants in the NBA, and that's a title. And you can even win that and still get fired. See, over the last 10 seasons, only 3 head coaches still have their job after taking their team to the NBA Finals: Steve Kerr, Mike Malone, and Erik Spoelstra. That's it. The rest have all been fired. Even if they ended up winning the finals, they still get canned. In 2019, Nick Nurse led the Toronto Raptors to an NBA championship and was fired 4 years later. In 2020, Frank Vogel led the Los Angeles Lakers to an NBA championship and was fired 2 years later. And in 2021, Mike Budenholzer led the Milwaukee Bucks to an NBA championship and was fired 2 years later. Unfortunately, this is a continuous trend in the NBA for a head coach. The average tenure of an NBA head coach is 3 to 4 years, which is the shortest tenure for head coaches in any professional sport. It's a well-known thing in the NBA coaching world that your job is never safe. Denver Nuggets head coach Mike Malone said, "You look around the coaching landscape, if you want a secure profession, coaching is not one you want to get into. I should have been a TV reporter." In fact, only 4 current head coaches have lasted more than 8 years with their respective team. And of those 4, only one of them has been with their team for 20 years, which is Greg Popovich. This is something that is extremely uncommon in the modern NBA. That is mainly thanks to the unreal expectations that are set on these head coaches by the front office, the media, and even us fans. Every NBA season, there are at least 10 teams with real championship aspirations, meaning all the players and staff are held to the expectation of ring or bust. And newsflash for all you guys, the NBA only rewards 1 champion every single year, meaning the other 9 teams' head coaches are in serious jeopardy of losing their jobs. It's a "what have you done for me now" mentality when it comes to the NBA. In 2021, Mike Budenholzer led the Milwaukee Bucks to an NBA championship, then got fired 2 years later after losing in the first round. Budenholzer had a record of 271 wins and 120 losses. In his worst losing season, he led the Bucks to a record of 46-26, which was still a good enough record to make the playoffs. It honestly makes no sense why a guy like Budenholzer was fired when you come to think about it. Let me put it this way. A head coach has a system, a staff, and a connection with their players that they develop through their tenure. Creating a successful culture and consistently making successful game plans around your lineups can take 2 to 3 years for a coach to fully develop. Throwing that away to get a brand new head coach every other season is just not a recipe for success. And the numbers back that up. As you can see on this graph, the teams that have had less head coaches in the last 20 years have won more games. The Spurs have won 60% of their games while only having 1 head coach, followed by the Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics, and Miami Heat, who have only had 1 coaching head change in the last 20 years and just re-upped on Erik Spoelstra. Teams like the Timberwolves, Knicks, Kings, and so on have seen double digits head coaches in the last 20 years and have a winning percentage less than 50. Meaning the more coach turnover you have, the less you win. It seems like common sense. You are better off riding with the coach that you have and deal with their struggles than bring in a brand new head coach when you don't have instant success. But as fans, we might not fully understand that concept as we're in the outside looking in, but surely these teams and these organizations do, which they have numbers, guys. I can find this information that I found that a new head coach doesn't mean winning. So why do they always seem to fire their head coach when things aren't working? Well, there's a simple answer to that. It's cheap. Let me explain. Everyone understands that the NBA is a business first and foremost. Got me? Okay, so each of these teams is owned by a multi-millionaire guy somewhere in a suit. And these owners, well, they have two things in their mind every season: win and make as much money as possible. So in order to do that, you have to go out there and form a championship roster, much like the Lakers tried to do. So you go and spend money on big name players, guys like LeBron James or Kevin Durant. You're following me. You go to fill out these rosters with a bunch of guys that make between $5 to $20 million a year, or sometimes you even give them another $30 to $40 million guy like LeBron getting Anthony Davis or Kevin Durant playing alongside Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. All right, so you did that and you got your role players that are all making $5 to $20 mil. Then when you put this roster out and you mesh a bunch of stars together and they don't work well immediately and they don't have your instant expectations of a championship, well, the owner now is forced to make a move because us fans, we are beginning to tell them, sell the team, like they told people in Detroit, or like LA fans tell Jeanie Buss all the time. And moving one of these players that you just put a lot of money into can get very tricky at times, and more importantly, it's expensive, especially compared to a head coach who makes an estimated $3.5 million a year. So if I'm an owner, I can go fire a head coach for $3.5 million, or I can go try and trade or maybe even release a guy that's making $5 to $10 mil. You're following me, okay? They say, hey, how about we just go fire this head coach? And in addition to firing this head coach and saving me money, guess what? It doesn't affect my salary cap. So I can go fire Darvin Ham and still make moves with the roster without affecting anything on the salary cap. And also, it makes me look good. In the eyes of the fans, it looks like I care about the team winning because I made a move, even though it was the cheapest and easiest route that I could have possibly done in improving my team. And the data even tells us that, in fact, it usually makes our teams worse over time, but they continue to do it because, quite frankly, it's easy, it's cheap, and us fans, we get happy because the guy that we hate right now, which is Darvin Ham, is out. So that brings us to the current situation of the Los Angeles Lakers. Owner Jeanie Buss is feeling the pressure from the media and the fans to improve this team as soon as possible. Last year, the Lakers were in this similar situation and they took the harder route and they traded away most of their team, adding in younger guys. And it worked as they reached the Western Conference Finals. Well, this year, they already have those guys, so this time it's the coach's turn to get the boot. It is highly unlikely that Darvin Ham will be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers next season, and quite frankly, probably won't even escape this season as the head coach. But if the Lakers do go down this route to fire Darvin Ham, who could they even hire? The top three guys that have been linked to the Lakers as their replacement could be Mike Budenholzer, Mike D'Antoni, or Doc Rivers. D'Antoni is a seasoned head coach who has experience coaching some of the biggest names in the game, such as Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Carmelo Anthony, and James Harden. And he also has 2 Coach of the Years under his belt. His fast-paced offense can help this Lakers team with their offensive struggles. Mike Budenholzer, on the other hand, does not have a long history of coaching star players outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but his accolades speak for themselves. He has 2 Coach of the Year awards and also has an NBA championship. He's also was Ham's former boss over in Milwaukee and would probably be the Lakers' best bet if they wanted to bring in a similar system that they already have with Darvin Ham. Lastly, you have Doc Rivers, who is probably the biggest name out of all of these candidates. Rivers has coached a handful of stars, from the Celtics Big Three to the Lob City Clippers to Joel Embiid and James Harden. He has also developed a personal brand for himself and could stand toe-to-toe with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, a superstar head coach for a city built for stars. All 3 of these coaches might seem appealing to the fans and might even be a better fit for the Lakers than Darvin Ham is, but it's unlikely that the Lakers actually fire him this season, due to the fact that this team is halfway through the year, and bringing in a brand new guy halfway through the year in a critical point could tear this team apart. Especially because in the modern NBA, teams barely practice, and learning a new system on the fly, yeah, we're probably just gonna have another disappointing year as a Laker team. So what can the Lakers do to turn the season around and give us fans some sort of hope? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't. It's one of the most confusing and frustrating seasons I've ever had as a fan, ever. The team looked like they were on pace to have one of their best seasons after winning the in-season tournament and had us fans all hyped for what this team could be. And then they fell off a cliff, and all of a sudden, the Los Angeles Lakers turned into the Detroit Pistons, like the 28 losses in a row Detroit Pistons. It's been one of the most mind-boggling seasons I've ever had as a fan of anything. I mean, I was a Colts fan when Andrew Luck retired in preseason. Yeah, I went through that. And to deal with this, I don't know. And honestly, it hasn't been good for my mental health. It's been terrible. Writing this whole video and making this whole video while I watch my Lakers lose night in, night out, it's been very, very depressing. If you want to cheer me up, please just maybe hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and watch this video right here on the screen. That'll probably make my day. Thank you.